What is up, everybody? Jordan here with the Deck Box, coming back to you tonight with something new to the channel. It's something that I'm calling Type Advantage, and it's something I think is pretty unique because we were not able to do this very often. We actually have a new set coming out February 2nd, but then following that, our set after that, Sm5 Plus, as it's known in Japan, is coming out after that. And what's unique is we have a ton of different Pokemon from the Sm5 set that are going to be released in the Sm5 Plus set. However, they are going to have alternate types, which I think is really cool. I think it's a neat way to kind of shift the meta a little bit, freshen things up even one set after, depending on what card it is we're looking at. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually place our first 8 Pokemon that we have that are getting reprints with different types. I wanted to face those off against their counterparts that are coming out in the following set. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be doing a battle of sorts between the two Pokemon. You'll see in the PowerPoint here. But we're going to be basing it off of 3 different things. So first off, we're going to look at meta impact. Obviously, this will shift a little bit depending on what happens after Sm5 and Sm5 Plus. However, we are looking at current meta, where things are at, how we think things are going to shake out. So we're going to look at which of the types is going to be better suited with how it has been in the past and with how it is currently, and how we think it's going to shape up to be. Then we're going to look at Pokemon support. Maybe there's some other Pokemon around right now that could help them out or even just pair well with. So whichever one has better of that will get a point for that. And then energy support. If there's some sort of energy acceleration like an Aqua Patch or something like that, or strong energy, then that will obviously make a difference, and that Pokemon will come out on top for that area. So without further ado, we are going to hop right in. Starting off, we have the 2 Torterras. Now if you know the upper right hand corner of the screen, that is the current Torterra that will be coming out first. So the upper left hand corner, you'll see all the Pokeballs for that team, 8 Pokeballs for them, and on the bottom will be the new team coming in Sm5 Plus. So we'll just call them old and new. We'll keep it simple. And of course they have 5 Pokeballs as well. So starting off with these guys, we want to look at the meta impact. Okay, and what we're seeing right now is there's a strong amount of Zoroark running around, various things that are weak to fighting and things like that. Not a lot that's weak to grass currently. And I don't see that changing very much. Really just not a ton, other than, of course, Zoroark is weak to grass. So we do have that. However, it's not played as much as something like a Zoroark or other things that are fighting weak. So for the first part, for the meta, the new fighting type gets to start things off with a bang. And then the second area, we have Pokemon support. And so what I look at here is I look at things that can help accelerate energy, things that can heal, things that can just boost attacks and things like that. And really, when you look at the grass one, the old one, you do have Pokemon that can boost damage if you really choose to. You have the Lurantis promo. You have Pokemon that pair well with it that can do some healing. Of course, we have the new Leafeon GX coming out. That can heal any Pokemon with energy on it. However, you're probably not going to put a Leafeon GX into a fighting Torterra deck. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I feel like the Grass Torterra has that advantage. You have the Lurantis GX that can accelerate some energy onto the Grass Torterra. With the fighting Torterra, as far as like support, I really don't see a whole lot other than I think Carbink can kind of do some boosting of energy, and the old Garchomp. But you're not going to put the old Garchomp with this Torterra. You're not going to put 2 Stage 2s like that. So I'm going to have to give this round to the Grass Torterra, the old one, that I say old, the one coming out in Sm5. So there we go, it's Sm5 and Sm5 Plus, that's what we're going to have. In the final category, we're looking at energy support. So we have mentioned one thing already, strong energy is crucial for the fighting Torterra, obviously adding 20 damage for each of those. And we have the potential to add on 4 of those. Chances of that happening are pretty slim. However, we are looking at probably 1 or 2, so do an additional 20 to 40 damage. That is actually very, very important. If you look at his second attack, does 180 damage. And I guess I probably should have walked through what the attacks did. So real quick, Giga Drain is that first one, 50 damage. Heal from this Pokemon the same amount of damage you did to your opponent's active Pokemon. So right there, if you have a strong energy on, you're going to be hitting your opponent's Pokemon for more. So you're going to be able to heal a little bit more on top of that. So you add some heavy defense with this very offensive energy boost, which typically you don't see. And then the second attack here is Earthquake for 3 grass and a colorless, does 100 damage. This attack does 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon. So does 180. You have a strong energy on that. It's 200. Choice Band 230. That takes down a Guardy. If you have 2 strong energy and a Choice Band 250, you're taking everything down. Unfortunately, you cannot do that with the Grass Torterra. The Grass Torterra really, other than some boost from its Pokemon support, it doesn't really have much energy support. So I have to give this round to the Fighting Torterra, overall making Fighting Torterra the winner of this round for SM5+. Moving on to the next round, we have the 2 Infernapes. As you'll see in the upper right hand corner, we have the one coming in SM5. It is a fire type. And then in the bottom left hand corner, you see the one coming in SM5+, and I'll kind of walk you through what these Pokemon do. The ability, Hot-Blooded Fighter. Your opponent's active Pokemon takes 6 damage counters from burn between turns. And the attack for a fire and colorless, Burst Punch, 50 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned, and retreat cost of 1. So, a few things to consider here. Obviously, the meta. And this one was really tough for me to figure it out as far as which would probably be better. Obviously, with Metal coming out, it's going to be very, very big to have a fire Pokemon. However, at the same time, we are looking at a meta where we are going to have Solgaleo that shuts down the weakness for its side. So I had to kind of look at that and say, okay, well, fire is going to be irrelevant shortly after, around the time that SM5+ comes out, or even sooner. We are still unsure. However, the fighting type I look at and go, you know what? There's going to be Zoroarks. There's going to be these fighting weak Pokemon. And on top of that, so you have, again, it's just the fighting weakness that's really kind of helping this one out, this new one. So for the first round, you have the fighting one taking the giving the damage there, and then second round, the Pokemon support. Really not a ton of fire Pokemon support. I mean, you can do steam ups and things like that, but I have to look at the fighting one as well. Again, you do have things like Carbink that can accelerate some energy if you need it to, and you have more Pokemon really that this is going to pair with than with the Fire Infernape, I feel like. And at the same time, what's unique about the fighting one is something that you don't have with fighting is burn damage. Typically you have that with fire Pokemon. So I feel like the fighting Pokemon, or the Fighting Infernape, even kind of adds its own Pokemon support by having that burn damage. So he's doing 110, and obviously we'll move from here and discuss the energy support as well, so that could change things. But that 50 damage initially, you're doing 100, and on top of that, 100 with the weakness, and then 60 more with the burn is 160. So it's a lot different than what most fighting Pokemon can do currently, and that is add additional damage in between turns. So for the second round, we are also going to be giving that to the Fighting Infernape. The third round, energy support. We've already talked about this. There's really no true energy support for the Fire Infernape. Early on, you can build up some fire energy on it when it's still down to a basic with a Volcanion or something like that. But late game, it really doesn't have much. The Fighting Infernape, as usual, has that strong energy. So one of those, you're doing 70 plus the 6 in between. That's 130. That takes down a lot of very critical basics, including that Volcanion that I just mentioned. So a lot of things there. And then, of course, having the strong energy hitting and the weakness, like this attack can just really boost up. So I feel like the third one as well also goes to the Fighting Infernape, bringing SM5+ up 2-0. Moving on, the third level, we're looking at the new Empoleon that of course is coming SM5 and then remade in SM5+. Let me scroll down here and get the attacks for you. Oh no, they disappeared. No, they did not. Anyway, well, that first one there is a 20 times damage, and what it does is 20 damage times the amount of each of all the Pokemon on the benches between both players. Here, I'll read it exactly so we don't screw this up. Alright, total command for water and colorless, 20 times damage. This attack does 20 damage times the number of Pokemon on each player's bench. So exactly like I said, potentially 10 Pokemon, 200 damage. So you're looking at, well, I guess water colorless for the water, metal colorless for the metal one, coming on SM5+. Then the second attack for 2 water or 2 metal respectively, and a colorless. Whirlpool does 90 damage. Discard 1 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So one thing I wanted to consider in the meta for this was obviously what's coming out. We have a lot of metal coming out. So yes, you look at it and say, well, the metal one fits that, right? But what beats metal? Fire. What beats fire? Water. So I kind of look at that and say, you know, water definitely has kind of an advantage on this, because I don't look at the metal Empoleon and think, oh man, it's going to pair really well with X, Y, or Z metal Pokemon. It's just kind of by itself. Whether or not you look at it as a water or a metal, it seems to typically be by itself. However, water seems to have the upper hand just all around with the different support it gets, which I know that goes into other categories, but still it's relevant to the meta. It has things like Aqua Patch, it has Manaphy for Free Retreat, like all these different things that the metal Pokemon just doesn't have. Obviously they have Mount Coronet, and I mean, if you really want to set up 2 stage 2s, yeah, you could have your Magnezone. But I feel currently that, whoop, I went too far, that the the water one has that first lineup there. Then looking at Pokemon support, yes, I would give that to the metal Empoleon. It does have things like Registeel to build itself up. It does have Magnezone if you really want to use it, and it just has a lot more help. You also have the new Solgaleo Prism Star that's coming out that can boost up energy to, you know, set up the board at a necessary time. So that's something that you don't have with the water Pokemon, as far as a Pokemon to help do that, and to do it as well as what you'd have with the metal. Last, moving on to energy support, we've talked about this a little bit. I mean, the metal Empoleon obviously has, like I said, Registeel and things like that that can, you know, use a Pokemon, and that's part of the Pokemon support. However, what's great about the water Empoleon is you have Aqua Patch, which is just super invaluable. Obviously, you're really only using that first attack, so you don't have to put 2 energy on. But this is definitely a quick way to power up a Pokemon once one of yours has been knocked out, and maybe you have a Prinplup on the bench, or even a oh goodness, a Piplup, and you can rare candy into it and then just Aqua Patch and attach and be off to the races. So definitely a lot more energy support for the water Empoleon. Finally giving SM5 a point, so we're now at 2-1 respectively for the teams. Moving on, Abomasnow. So this one, honestly, looking at it either way, isn't terrific, if I'm being honest, but it is still a neat Pokemon, definitely worth taking a look at. So obviously, upper right we have the SM5 Abomasnow, which is the water type, and then at bottom left we have the new one coming in SM5+. So real quick, we'll go through it. The ability is Blessing of the Forest Covered Trees. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. And then for the attack, the only attack, water or grass, depending on which one you use, and 3 colorless energy called Hypno Hammer. 80 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So, looking at the meta, once again, not a ton of grass that's going to do extremely well. I mean, you have Decidueye, you have Leafeon, but if you're not one of those two, or I'm sorry, Leafeon, Decidueye, or Golisopod, if you're not one of those 3, you're not going to be doing fantastic, and you're not doing super well because of the weakness you hit, or because of what you are weak against, especially in this new meta. Like I said, metal is going to be big, and so fire is going to be big, so grass might kind of suffer a little bit. And I feel like water is going to shine a little bit more, plus all the other extra support. So that first round for meta, water takes. The second round for Pokemon support, we've talked a little bit about this. You know, we do have Pokemon that can accelerate energy a little bit. With Lurantis GX, we have Lurantis Promo that allows Pokemon to do more damage. We have Leafeon, which of course can allow this Pokemon to immediately evolve and kind of break the rules of evolution, plus the healing factor. So Grass actually takes it on the Pokemon support. And then moving on to the last round, energy support. In this one, I mean, when you have Aqua Patch involved, it's really difficult to say otherwise that another Pokemon would be better. So I will have to give this round to the Water Abound the Snow, giving Sm5 a second point. We are now tied up 2 apiece, moving into the 5th round, and we are looking at Toxicroak. This is one of the Pokemon that I don't think it's been looked at a ton, so we are real quick, of course, going to cover the attacks and everything. So we're looking at Toxicroak. For the first attack, a Psychic Energy or Fighting Energy. Poison Jab, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. And the second attack for DCE, settle the score, 50 damage. If any of your fighting Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 70 more damage. And so for the fighting one, that second attack actually reads if any of your psychic Pokemon were knocked out. So they counteractive there. So looking at the meta, what do we have in every single deck? We have Tapu Lele. So I feel like more often than not, the fighting one is going to have its condition met for that second move, where a psychic is knocked out. The psychic one's probably not going to be run in a fighting deck, you know, unless it's like a tech. Obviously it could be. Hits for a good weakness, hits a solid number, and it's only for a DCE, so it could potentially go in there. However, the fighting one will guarantee that there is a Lele, and you don't have to worry too much about teching it into an exactly psychic deck, so that's kind of helpful. On top of that, as I mentioned, Zoroark is really, really big right now, so you hit that fighting weakness, and he's weak to psychic, which there's not a ton of that going around. I am starting to hear some rumors of some more cropping up after Sm5. However, it's not as big as it was whenever Trash Lynch Garb was around. And obviously both of them are weak to Psychic, so both of them have that going for them. But like I said, I feel like the fighting, hitting more weakness, and being able to hit after a Psychic has been down really kind of helps. So for the first round for meta, the fighting one from Sm5 Plus takes it. Second one, as far as Pokemon support, I feel like the Psychic one actually has a little bit more there, because you do have some new Pokemon come out in the next set that can kind of do some neat things and kind of shift some things around that most people aren't thinking about. So you do have the Lunala Prism Star, which of course can set up a bunch of energy, and you obviously have the old Lunala that can move energy around, and you have the new Dawn Wings Necrozma that can do the the rush in ability basically, and kind of swap things out and move things around. So I feel like as far as Pokemon support, that might be a little bit more helpful. With Toxicroak, you could pair it with a really awesome Pokemon like Garbodor if you really wanted to. Just some different things to look at. Excuse me. And I feel like the fighting Toxicroak really doesn't, I wouldn't see this with many other fighting Pokemon because they already kind of have their own partners and things like that. So for the second round, I give to the Psychic Toxicroak. And then going into the third round, energy support. Again, we are looking at strong energy here. I mean, you really can't get out of it. It's going to be doing the additional 20 damage per strong energy, and that just really helps this fighting Toxicroak out. So the Sm5 Plus Toxicroak does take this round, bringing it to 2-3. Going into the sixth round, we're looking at the two new Magnezones, which of course we've seen this type of thing before with Magnezone actually, and it was a Lightning before, and it came out as Metal first this time, and then of course we are seeing a reprint in Sm5 Plus as Lightning once again. So basically the ability Magnetic Circuit, as often as you like during your turn before you attack, you may attach a Metal energy for the Metal Magnezone or a Lightning energy for the Lightning Magnezone from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Excuse me. Zap Cannon is the attack for 3 metal or 3 lightning respectively, and a colorless energy. Zap Cannon does 130 damage. This Pokemon can't use Zap Cannon during your next turn. Obviously, we're not really looking at Zap Cannon as much. We are more looking at that ability. So, a couple things to look at. The meta. Obviously, right now, metal is about to be huge. The Metal Magnezone is actually going to pair well with a lot of things. Yes, the Lightning Magnezone you could use in like Raichu GX, but no one's really playing Raichu GX, and people have had a chance to test this with the old Magnezone, and they're not using it. Okay. Another thing to look at in the meta: the Metal one is weak to fire, and obviously with the new Solgaleo that will be coming out before SM5 Plus, that kind of mitigates that weakness a little bit. And the Lightning one is weak to fighting, so being weak to fighting right now isn't the best thing because we do have quite a bit of fighting out as well. So as far as meta goes, the Metal one does take it pretty easily there. Pokemon support, although these are support Pokemon, I had to look at this one a little bit differently. It's more like which Pokemon will it pair well with. As I mentioned originally, the Lightning Magnezone can go with something like a Raichu, or you could have fun with a Tapu Koko deck, or if you want to revive Pikachu EX again. But like I said, it's been done, and we know that it's not the best. It's not bad, especially if it's in the right hands, but it is not the best deck. I look at a metal deck and think it's much better than the Lightning, because right now Lightning's not really hitting much for weakness, and so metal kind of has the bigger advantage. Now looking at the metal side, it has many more Pokemon that it can use this ability on that are coming out in this new set that hit much harder. They have these awesome abilities. You've got things like the new Dialga GX that can allow you to take a turn 2 times in a row, just skip your opponent. So as far as Pokemon support, Metal takes that one as well. And moving into energy support, it's kind of, again, these are the Pokemon providing the energy. However, as far as the energy, going further, I feel like it goes further with the Metal Magnezone. On top of that, you do have Mount Coronet. That is something that the Lightning Magnezone does not have. So that is kind of the energy support for these Pokemon. Mount Coronet wins it for the Metal Magnezone, bringing this to now 3 apiece, tied up once again after the 6th round. And now we're going to start looking at our Dragon Pokemon. So you can kind of see where it's going with the Dragon Pokemon. 9 times out of 10, if you have the chance for a Pokemon to be a dragon or to be another type, you're probably going to pick the other type, because dragon doesn't really hit for weakness. Actually, it doesn't at all, and it takes a weakness, which of course has been big for a while with Gardevoir. That's about to get a little less, depending on how things shake out in this meta, but we're going to look at these anyway. So we're looking at the Sm5 Palkia on the upper right. That's a dragon type. Bottom left is Sm5 Plus. It is the water type. So looking at the meta, as I mentioned, dragon is just always, okay, I don't want to say always bad, but it's not always good, and it doesn't ever hit weakness. So for that reason, the water one has to take that first round. Looking at the Pokemon support, again, with water Pokemon, you have things like Manaphy for free retreat. You have other Pokemon that pair really, really nicely with it, and that kind of all work off of each other a little bit. So again, Pokemon support has to go with the water Palkia. And finally, energy support. We're looking at Aqua Patch, and the one caveat of Aqua Patch, or there's 2 caveats. One, it has to be water energy coming from your discard pile, and 2, it has to be going on to a water Pokemon. So, you can't use Aqua Patch on the Dragon one, so it loses that support. You can't Brooklet Hill it out. All these different weaknesses for it. So the Water Palkia has to take 3 in a row just to take this match pretty easily, pretty handedly. No surprise there that the Dragon will lose out. And looking at the last one, this is probably one of my favorites of this. Up in the right hand corner, we have the Dragon type Garchomp from Sm5. And in the bottom, excuse me, the bottom left-hand corner, we have the Garchomp from Sm5 Plus. This is a Pokemon that will be having its own deck, and so this is a very relevant thing to look at. Which one's going to be better, why, and how is it going to be better. So real quick, walking you through it. for a DCE, the first attack, quick dive. This attack does 50 damage to your opponent's Pokemon. You know, we've heard this attack plenty of times before. Ninetales, you know, snipe for 50. Sniping for 50 is solid. If you need to close something out or if you need to set something up, it's beautiful, works great. Obviously don't apply weakness and resistance for the bench Pokemon. And then for both of them, the second attack, fighting, double colorless, Champion's Blade, 100 plus damage. If you played Cynthia from your hand during this turn, this attack does 100 more damage, so 200 or 230 with the choice band. So we're going to start off looking at the meta. What does Dragon hit weakness for? Nothing. What does Fighting hit weakness for? A lot of things, mainly Zoroark. It's really big. With Zoroark, you don't have to play your Cynthia. You can just have a choice band and one-shot the Zoroark, or you don't even need a choice band. You could just have a strong energy. So that meta there is just super important with the weakness. You know, some people will say that the type doesn't always matter. In this case, the type really matters. So for the meta, the fighting one, of course, takes it. Looking at Pokemon support, I have to admit, they both have like the same support Pokemon because they both run the same types. However, I feel like what happens is, like, you're looking at a fighting energy, okay? So you're going to be playing this with fighting Pokemon. What do fighting Pokemon really like to use? Strong energy. So you're more likely to be able to feed off of those other Pokemon in play if you're playing the same type of Pokemon, if you're playing the same exact energy. And when I say same energy, I mean strong energy. Obviously, looking at the basics with Gible, you'll be able to search it out with Brooklet Hill. So you're going to be able to use all the same things that the other Pokemon in the deck can use, so the deck will just run so much smoother. So for that reason, the fighting Garchomp once again gets the second round. And then finally, looking at energy support, we've talked about this 100 times. You have strong energy, and that makes a huge difference with these Pokemon. One thing, the very first thing I saw whenever I saw that there was a fighting Garchomp released is that if you have a Cynthia, choice band, strong energy on this Garchomp, you're swinging for 250 damage. That takes down everything. So Galio, Metagross, Decidueye, all these huge Pokemon, you know, and he just makes it look easy. He's a one prize attacker. He gets that energy support. You get things like Carbink. You get the other, which you're not going to play in his deck. You're going to get the other Garchomp from previous sets. And obviously, something I forgot to mention with both of these is you do have Lucario, so you can search for whatever one card you want as long as you have a Garchomp in play. But if, you know, same support either way. However, with the fighting one, you're looking for much more crucial pieces. You're looking for a strong energy. You're not just looking for a fighting energy. So it's so much more powerful whenever you use that support and find the cards you need. So for that reason, the energy support also goes to the fighting Garchomp, leaving him the victor here. And we're looking at two different teams now. The upper left is actually Sm5. Bottom right, that is your team for Sm5 Plus, winning 5-3. These are the top winner, or these are the winners for each round. So I think it's very easy to say that Sm5 Plus will be the better of the two. Obviously, pay attention to which ones from the old set will be better than the new set. You know, don't just assume that, oh, if it's from the new set, it's better. You know, make sure you go through, do some research yourself. And again, this depends on whatever decks you're playing. You know, if you're playing a lightning deck, don't play the metal Magnezone. Play the lightning one. You know, just whatever works for you. But if you're looking at the overall meta, if you're looking at the Pokemon support that they have outside of themselves, and the energy support that they have to go along with it, it can really make a big difference. So now what we're going to do, we're going to look at the MVPs for each team. So for Sm5, we will be looking at Magnezone, and for Sm5 Plus, we do have Garchomp. Those are the two MVPs that I see. You know, Magnezone really helps to set things up. Right now we have a lot of metal Pokemon that take a lot of energy. So if Magnezone is able to do its thing, the deck just runs beautifully. It's a very crucial piece. And the Garchomp obviously can just wipe the board clean for a one prize attacker. Super easy setup. You have another support Pokemon to just search through your deck, pick whatever card you want. It's just a very versatile card. Hits for solid numbers. It snipes. Like, it does all these neat little things. So definitely a great card as well. So those are the two MVPs, and my pick for the top Pokemon out of both sets here, between these 16 different cards, it is going to be the Garchomp from SM5 Plus. To me, this is just the card that is really, really going to stand out, really going to make a difference in the future meta. You know, obviously looking past February into May, this set will be coming out, and I promise you the first tournament afterwards, this deck will top, because it is going to be a strong, strong Pokemon that only gives up one prize in a meta that is kind of saturated with 2 prize attackers. This Pokemon is going to make a huge difference. And I also forgot to mention free retreat, so enjoy that Pokemon. Take advantage of that. This is probably going to be a pretty inexpensive card to begin with, so pick up your playsets now. As I mentioned in my post from my last video, we talked about the cards that you should buy. This was one of the cards I mentioned in the SM5 set. I still recommend that you get the SM5 one for now. I mean, it's a few months away till this one comes out, so when SM5 comes out, get your Dragon type Garchomps, play that card, and then when SM5 Plus comes out, you can get the Fighting type and play that card. And I would suggest, as I mentioned in my post before, go to deaddrawgaming.com. These guys have really, you know, they got a neat thing going. They're kind of a startup store. They have a podcast. They have a YouTube channel. Check them out. My favorite part is their podcast, but check them out. They're really great to pre-order from. They've already started their pre-orders for SM5 Ultra Prism. They sell singles. They sell boxes. All sorts of goodies. I know they would really appreciate your business if you head on over there and check them out. Tell them, you can tell Danny that Jack Black sent them. He will really appreciate that. So guys, thank you so much for checking this video out. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I hope it has helped. I hope it has been fun and a little bit educational, we'll say. As usual, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe and join us for our future videos. And if you have enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It'll just take a second, and it would really, really help us out. Thank you so much for joining me. I have been Jordan with the Deck Box, where we want to know what is in your box. Have a great night, guys.